Did you guys work on those queries, the stored procedures, whatever assignment I have given you? You guys worked on that? Okay, guys. So from today, whatever we are going to work on, it will continue till our course end. So please be concentrated and please be follow the project. Okay. So whatever we are doing, the last time I have given you few queries to work on, few assignment. Okay, this assignment. So have anyone tried to solve this? Okay, so today, so from the last week we completed with SQL Server. That means, in particular, discussing about SQL Server, the basics of SQL Server, different features of SQL Server, the components. Okay, so PLSQL triggers, cursors, and other things we discussed. So from today, the thing is we are going to combine these two topics, C Sharp as well as SQL Server, and we will work on combinedly. So that means we are going to develop a project like thing. So the connector between both the things is ADO.NE. Okay, ADO.NET means Active Data Object for .NET. Okay, so what does it mean by Active Data Object? So we have data in database. So database holds the data completely, and it stores that, it keeps the data for a long time until and unless you delete or system get crash, something like that. That time only the data will be lost. Otherwise, the data will be there for a long time. Okay, so how we will communicate with the database from C Sharp? That's the main thing. How we will send data from C Sharp to SQL Server, and how we will get data from SQL Server to C Sharp. Uh, so far we discussed these two topics, C Sharp and SQL Server, as two different entities. From now on, we are going to combine these two, and we'll work on how to pass data and how to get data from SQL Server. Okay, this is the part from where our different types of things will start. Okay, so before going to that, I will explain some three-tier architecture. This is actually not required in your course, but I'm just giving a brief introduction to a three-tier architecture, what it is. So from the diagram, it is very easy to analyze or understand what it is. So application layer, your business logic layer, and data access layer. Okay, and you have database. So the notation or the representation of database when you come to diagrams, that is just like a cylindrical diagram. Okay, and then application layer means that is very front end where user can interact with the system. Okay, so the application layer, it can be a console application, or it can be a web application, or it can be a WinForms, or it can be a Windows service, web service, whatever. Okay, but from where the start point of your application or your project, that is called application layer. Business logic layer, this is, so the business logic layer is again a thing where all your data will be validated and converted to is your project understandable objects. And then data access layer is, that is the main thing which provides an interface to your database. Okay, from your code you can interact with the database. All the interaction code or whatever you will write in your data access layer. Okay, this is called three-tier architecture. So there are layers and tiers. This is again an interview question. If you mention a tier or layer during your interview, people may ask what is layer, what is tier. Okay, layer means it is logical separation of your code. Okay, tier means a physical separation of your code. Okay, so logical means you write all your code whichever related to the front end. Front end means where user interacts with your project or your system. That is called application layer. Okay, all application related code will be written there. Business logic layer means all your code whichever validates your whatever the data you enter, that will be validated and converted to your project understandable objects and collections. And data access layer means all your data communication code. Okay, database communication code. So these three are defined. So layer means logical separation, so you will write your code according to these three. But tier means the execution happens in different physical machines. But layer means they all exist on the same server, but the code is logically separated. That's what the main difference between layer and tier. Okay, so this one just to give an understanding how ADO.NET works. So the next slide, you can see here ADO.NET is a set of classes that comes with Microsoft.NET framework to facilitate data access from managed language. ADO.NET has been in existence from a long time. Okay, and it provides a comprehensive and complete set of libraries for data access. The strength of ADO.NET is firstly that lets application access various types of data using the same methodology. If I know how to use ADO.NET access a SQL Server database, then the same methodology can be used to access any other database types like Oracle, MS Access, MySQL, whatever it is, by just using different set of classes. Okay, ADO.NET provides two models for data access. Connected model, where I can keep the connection with the database and perform data access, and another way is to get all the data in ADO.NET objects that let us perform data access on disconnected objects. Okay, so if you see our the very basic any .NET application. Okay, so you have, if you see from the previous diagram to this diagram, ADO.NET clearly says there is one layer missed, that is business layer, that not mentioned here. Okay, because that is very high level architecture, so I didn't define it here. So application layer, you can see under application layer different types of application, the templates fall here. Okay, I can call all this in my first top circle, I can call it as application layer. Those I can call different entities as clients. Okay, so each one is a different client. It is console application, Win services, Win forms, web applications, other .NET supported apps, maybe web services, okay, WPF, Silverlight, many things are there. And all these are communicate with database through ADO.NET. Okay, so ADO.NET is in between your database and to your application. Okay, that's where the ADO.NET, the importance and the necessity of ADO.NET is defined by this diagram. So you should know ADO.NET to communicate with different types of database, different types of relational databases. Okay, so that is ADO.NET. So it operates in two models. One is connected model and another is disconnected architecture. Okay, connected architecture and disconnected architecture. So this is again an interview question. So what is connected architecture and what is disconnected architecture in ADO.NET? Connected means you have to keep live your connection with database to work with few objects in ADO.NET, whereas the other objects you don't need. Okay, so what is the connection? What we need to keep live? How we need to keep live? How we can make disconnected? These things we'll discuss now. Okay, so these are the different types of objects available in ADO.NET. Okay, so here you can see a connection object. Okay, so these are different, not objects, these are actually classes. You need to create objects for this. From these objects you can communicate with a database. Okay, the very first thing is connection. Okay, and then command connection means the connection to which server you are going to connect, you need to define in this object. And then command means an SQL Server command. That command can be, we discussed different kinds of commands in SQL Server last week. Okay, so those commands we can execute from this command class. So you can define those commands in this command object. And then data reader means this one will read data from your SQL Server, so that just like a cursor, it will read data from your SQL Server table or whatever, the result from any stored procedure or any query, the data will be read from this data reader and you can process the data. Okay, and data adapter. So data adapter means this is again an object that will execute on different commands. You can see the commands. You can execute all these commands by using data adapter. Okay, and then command builder. This is very lessly used. So you can build your command by using this class. Transaction. So these transactions are same like the transactions we saw in SQL Server. Okay, so from C# side you can define these transactions, but these are very lessly these are used very less, and I can say these are not required. And parameters. So if you want to execute a stored procedure or a query with the user defined parameters, okay, you want to pass the values from C# to your SQL Server, some parameters, you can use these parameters and others providers. So any provider, other provider means Oracle or some other providers, you can define it here. Data set. Data set means this will hold your entire database structure. So your database may have multiple tables, multiple relations. Relation means foreign key relations, other things, and even the primary keys. Everything will be in a single shot. Your data set can may just, it is a replica of your data set. Okay, and it will maintain everything whatever defined in your SQL Server database. Okay, data table, it is just like your table or table entity in your SQL Server. So the entire result of any query or stored procedure you can keep in this data table. Okay, same as data set also you can keep the result. And data rows means in a data table you may have multiple rows. So data table means you just remember that table. When we execute select star from student, the result will come, right? The same result can be maintained in your data table. Data rows means in a data table all the rows, okay, a single row in a data table. That's what data row. And data view is you have views in your SQL Server, right? The same way data view is a view that can be derived from your data table. Okay, data table is actual data holder, where data view is, it provides a view for you from that data table. Okay, data relation. So the relations, foreign key relations, whatever between the tables. Okay, you can define. This is used in data set. Constraints means whatever constraints we defined in our SQL server, the same we can define from C#. Other common objects. So the other common objects, but these are very commonly used objects. Whatever I listed here. Okay. So we'll go to next slide. So this exercise today we'll see a simple table, means we are going to create a simple project for for a school. Okay, let me open. This is school DB I have created. Okay, are you guys able to hear me? Okay, thank you. So so from now onwards I will share whatever script is here, the code also I will share. Please execute it. It is almost like a real-time project we are going to work on. Okay, it is just like you need to get some information from the forms, console application, whatever web application. You need to execute few commands. You need to build the stored procedures, tables. So we will send the data from front end to back end. Front end means where user can interact. Back end means where the user where the actual data stores. Okay, these two are very important from now onwards. Okay, so instead of this school database I have created school DB. This one I have created few tables. Okay, we have student leaves, student test marks, examination, class, and branch. Okay, I will show you how these are. Okay, let me open something. I will do one thing. So this is entity framework, guys. This is actually not in course. So as I'm not able to produce from my SQL server the DB diagram, I'm using this. So what you need to do is you just need to define your SQL server connection from here. This is my SQL server, Windows authentication. You can select the DB, school DB, and then OK. School DB entities, it creates for me. Entity framework 6.0. So this is very simple. You need not to do anything. Whatever you created in your database, everything can be accessed from here. Okay, I have few stored procedures. Okay, so it will generate everything for me, the diagram, everything. So I'm not going to use this, just to show the diagrams whatever I have created. So these are my tables, whatever I created on the database. So you guys able to see this screen, right? So I have a student class, I mean table. Okay, this table is having ID. This is a primary key, name, class, branch, address, date of birth. Okay, and then so another is student leaves. Okay, this is having ID, student ID, from date, to date, applied on, approved or not. Okay, now I have created a class. Okay, this will have name and description. Branch, it will have a name and description. And examination, it will have a name and description. And then student marks, you can give to ID, test ID. So test ID, this one is a foreign key which references the ID for examination. Okay, and then student ID, this one will get reference from this student table, the ID, and then social marks, maths marks, science marks, total marks, and average marks. Okay, these three tables, branch, class, and examination, these tables will provide me the actual names of my class, branch, and examination. So these we can call it as master tables, and student is the actual student table. Here the class and branch, these will get references from class and branch tables respectively. Okay, and then student leaves, student ID references here. So this is my basic table structure. Okay, schema, we can call it as a schema. The database schema means whatever it contains, the tables, relations, everything, we call it as a schema. So here my schema contains 6 tables and they have few relations among them. Okay, so my application need to have few things where I can add class, branch, examination, these names, and then students, student marks, student leaves. So I need to add few screens, not screens, few functionalities where I can add everything. Okay, so where I can add data, manage means you can add, so CRUD operations, I told you already CRUD. CRUD means create, read, update and delete. So we need to implement the functionality for each table, the CRUD operations. Okay, so here I have a fun procedure, that is manage classes. So this one you can see here, the last class we discussed about the student, adding a student, deleting a student, updating a student data. So same like here manage classes I have created. So for this manage classes, I am passing the parameters ID, name, description and delete. Okay, so these are 4 parameters and these 4 are optional parameters. What are optional parameters? So whichever you define with some default value or initial value here in the stored procedure, those parameters are called optional parameters. So these optional parameters, if you pass delete means that is true, then it will execute the delete operation. Okay, if you don't pass any value for delete, it will check for the ID. So if you pass the ID, it will update that record with respect to that ID, or else it will insert the record. Okay, so this is my stored procedure. Okay, and then I will close this. So this is entire script of my database. So I request you guys to execute this script on your databases. Okay, create a new database with the name SchoolDB and execute this entire script, which will create the same number of tables whatever I have here, and the same stored procedures whatever I have here. This will create for your reference. Okay, the assignments from now onwards will be more. You guys have to work on these assignments. Okay, so this stored procedure is there, that table is there, everything is there for me. So till Friday we saw how to create a table, how to create a stored procedure, and how to create a stored procedure to perform different actions in a single stored procedure. That is, create a record, that means insert a record, update a record, and then even delete a record. So these are different things you define here. Okay, so from today onwards, we will see how to access these stored procedures from our C# classes or applications. So we earlier we created a stored procedure and we executed that stored procedure from SQL Server Management Studio itself. But now onwards, we have to execute these stored procedures from Visual our C# code. Okay, so this is my program, a very simple program. So as usual, the very basic thing for ADO.NET is you require a connection string. Okay, a connection string. A connection string is nothing but it provides information how to connect to your database server, your SQL server. Okay, so it will have the main things 3 to 4. Okay, I will define, I will show it here. So you will have the connection string which will have the basic two keywords, that is data source. Data source is your server name. Your server name means to which where your SQL server installed, that server name, or you can keep that server IP. Okay, whatever your choice, you can keep your server name or you can keep your server IP. Okay, and then initial catalog means the database name. So here in our case the database name is school.db. Here the data source means your machine name. Okay, your laptop name or your machine name. Okay, and then the first variant in connection string is, if you are using SQL server authentication, you have to pass user ID and then password. This is the syntax for your connection string. Okay, that is a string value and it will have the keywords and the values respectively separated by semicolon. Okay, that is first variant. If you are using Windows authentication, you have to use the first two keywords. Data server and initial catalog is same, but the third keyword is trusted underscore connection, that is S. Means you are mentioning I am connecting to that SQL server as Windows authentication. Okay, so these two variants are there. Is that fine? So that is a connection string, that is that is very much important. So without this connection string, you can't even execute a single statement. No, no, you can't even open a connection. Okay, so that is my very first requirement. I should have my connection string, and that is very much essential. And then I have to define SQL connection. So we saw the in my previous diagram, the very first object is connection. I have to define a connection. Okay, so here the connection is SQL connection. This is the class. So this is specially for your SQL server. Okay, so SQL connection, the object name whatever you want you can give. I have given con and equal to new SQL connection, and you have to pass the connection string inside connection string as a parameter to that class. Okay, so this connection string is have, so you are telling to your SQL connection object, this is my connection string values. Means by using this values, you can connect to SQL server. Okay, so the very first thing, if you see, whenever you are opening your SQL Server Management Studio, the very first time it will ask for your credentials, right? So this is also, you just open your SQL Server from C Sharp, okay, and you want to connect to that SQL server. So you need to pass the user ID and password. So in your connection string, you are mentioning that. And if you are connecting by using Windows authentication, you are saying trusted connection. Okay, those values you are passing to your SQL connection. So by using these, whenever you use con.open, the object whatever we defined for SQL connection, that object dot open will open a connection to your SQL server. Okay, and the second object in our ADO.NET objects is command. Okay, this command is very much important to execute any command on SQL server. Okay, so you have to write or you can use already existing commands on SQL Server. Okay, so what I am doing here is the command syntax is SQL command cmd equal to new command, and you can pass the command. There are two variants for this, not even two, three variants. Okay, you can define your SQL command with a parameterless construct, okay, constructor, and the second one is with the stored procedure name and then your connection object. Your connection object means here the call. Okay, so these two parameters you can pass, and then cmd dot execute non query, it will execute the stored procedure for you. Okay, so in my program what I have done is same as usual from the beginning, how we are writing our examples or our examples. I'm writing in the same way. So string command C ID name and then description. So these will represent my table columns. Okay, the values I need to pass to my SQL Server table. From these three values, I will read from the user and I will pass to my database table. Okay, so as usual, I am asking. So enter your choice: insert, update, delete, or view. Four options user will get, and the very first you need to enter your choice, that is enter name. Okay, so this is to insert a record. So my stored procedure, it is having four parameters, that is id, name, description, and delete. But in my C sharp I have to pass the same number of parameters to my stored procedure. So here this is my code to call, this is my code to communicate with SQL Server. Okay, this is, I have created SQL connection, con equal to new SQL connection, and connection string I passed where I have declared my connection string. Here the values you can see, this is my local machine, initial catalog school DB, trusted connection, yes. So here this one you can replace with your machine name, and remaining if you create your database name with school DB, this one is fine, and trusted connection. Anyway, all the SQL servers installed on your machines, so you can use trusted connection. Okay, so this is fine, and then here, so the connection object I declared here, so the command I declared here, this is my stored procedure name. You can see stored procedure name manage classes. So this is the same name I have to give it here, and I am passing the connection object, and then you have to give the command type equal command type dot stored procedure, because I am going to execute a stored procedure, so I have to use the stored procedure. We have three different types. One is stored procedure, second is table direct, so you can directly calling a table, this is very less used. And then text means you may execute something like select star from student. That kind of statements you can execute from here directly. Okay, so you just write select star from student instead of manage classes. Here you can put select star from students, and then if you mention your command type text, it will execute that query from C sharp. Okay, So by default the command type is text. If any other thing, you have to give the type. Okay, now id greater than 0. So here I have given all the parameters as optional parameters. So I can pass any of these parameters or none of these parameters. Okay, so the id, if I pass the, this will update my records. Okay, otherwise if I pass delete the value, some value, it will try to delete the record with the past id value. Okay, name and description, these will be updated or inserted based on the id value. Okay, so means these two parameters decide my entire stored procedure to execute accordingly. So if I pass id, it will update my record, or if I don't pass id, it will insert the record. Before that, I am checking whether I am using the stored procedure for any delete operation. So based on that only I have to pass the parameters. So SQL parameter is another class which will create the parameter with the value. You can define a SQL parameter and you can add that parameters to SQL command. So each SQL command will have the class, it will have a collection of parameters. So your stored procedure may have multiple parameters or no parameters. If you want to pass parameters with their respective values to your stored procedure, you need to use SQL parameter class. So this SQL parameter class, this will create a parameter of type your stored procedure parameter, and then the value whichever you want to pass, you can pass it here. So the id greater than 0 means, so if I want to update any record, I have to pass this value, right? So if I don't want to update any value, no need to pass this value. So just if I want to insert a record, I don't need to pass any id value. So that's where I am checking. If the id value is greater than 0, then only you pass it, means it will update your records. Okay. Name also an optional parameter. If name, you want to update your name, you pass some value, that value will be sent to your stored procedure that will execute. If you don't have any value, no need to pass this one. So we are using is null or empty. Okay, what it will do, it will check whether the value of name is null or empty. So this function we have checked during our string methods. Same way the description, and then delete. So if you want to delete a record, that time you have to pass this parameter, otherwise no need to add this parameter to your command. Okay, so far you guys understand or any doubts? Okay, I hope you guys understood it. So I defined my connection, I defined my command, I added parameters to my command. Okay, these are the basic 3 steps. Okay, first thing, I have created my connection string, means the connection string values I have defined. Okay, and then the connection object I have created, and then the command object I have created. So with these are the basic steps you need to follow when you are working with ADO.NET. The very first thing, you should make sure that your connection string is prepared well. So a working connection string you prepared. The second thing, you initialized your connection object. The third thing, you initialized your command object, and then you added the required parameters for your command, and then you open your connection. Okay, open means this is just like you are opening the communication between your C# code and your SQL server. Okay, and now you already prepared your command. So this command you are going to execute. So command.execute non-query means, so this is not a query. Query means which will return you some result. Okay, Okay. This one is a not query. So this one will execute your stored procedure with the parameters you passed. Okay, and you executed that stored procedure. Now your work is done. You have to close this connection. Okay, if you don't close your connection, it will throw some exception when you are executing next time. So the connection is already open. You cannot open already opened connection. It will throw some exception like that. So the very basic steps when you are working with ADO.NET, you prepare your query string properly, which is well defined. Okay, and then you prepare your you initialize the connection object, you initialize your command object with the required stored procedure name or the query whichever you want to execute, and then you you add the parameters to that command according to your needs. Okay, and then open the connection, execute the command. Execution of command, there is different variants. This is not a query, so you are using cmd dot execute non-query. So your work is done. So your connection, you opened your connection and your work is done. So close your connection. That's where your job is done. Okay, so this is one. We will see now the working one. Insert class name. I'm going to enter, okay, ms1. Okay, this is my class. Enter description. I'm going to add sem2. Okay, so this one added a record to my database. So whether it got added or not, we will see. Just enter 4 to view. You can see there are two records, ms sem1 sem2. So if you are doubt, as I am executing from C#, just come to this database and execute select star from class. So you can see whatever I have added here, it is there. 2 and 3 records are there, ms sem1. Okay, so this is how you can connect and execute few queries. Okay, so we will see next. We will add one more record, msm2. I have added, you can see the three records, and if you have still doubt, you can see here msm2 sem2. Okay, we got it here. I mistakenly, this is msm1, here msm2, I have given a mistake. So if I want to correct, I can update from my C# itself. So what I want to do, update the record. So update it. What is the id? That is 3. And what is the name? Name, I don't need anything. So description, what I have to change, that is ms sem1. Okay, so now you can see here that is sem2 it is showing. So here I have updated. You come here, you see that is ms sem1. Okay, so that's it. And the final operation, if you want to test even the delete, you just enter 4. So now the fourth record got deleted. So you can see. So is that fine? Any doubts? You guys understood or any doubts? Okay, so I hope you guys are good. So the other thing, here I have used another stored procedure, but I just want to see, I just want to execute a query here. Okay, that variant you can see, select star from class is my table. Okay, instead of stored procedure I can change it to command.text, command type.text, but by default anyway command type is normal query only. So we have command dot execute reader, which will read it. It will give a handle to this reader, SQL data reader. If we see in our previous ADO.NET objects, that is data reader, the third object. So data reader, the first three are connected, comes under connected architecture. Okay, so what this one do is it will read record by record from your table or the result set according to your query, record by record. Okay, so you need the connection live to process this one. So here same way, I have initialized my connection command. The command I have passed select star from class connection object connection open. Okay, now command dot execute reader. This will give a handle to the result of select star from class, and I am printing all my values from here. Okay, so this is reader and this is okay. Anyway, printing is different. So this reader will hold the value of each record. From each record, the column values it will hold. You can directly give reader of the ID, the column name, and name, description. These three are column names of my table, and this reader will hold each record. Okay, so by providing like this, it will give you the value in this record. For this column, what is the value? If you want to access, you have to use something like this, and dot to string or any data type. If you want to change it, you can change it, just like int dot parse. Okay, decimal dot parse, whatever you want, you can change it to this. Okay, this is just to get my data from table. If you want some condition here, you can even pass that condition. Okay, so that's okay, that we will see later. Okay, same way you can pass parameters, how you pass it from here. Okay, so this is how you can access data from your table. So I am going to enter 4. You can see the class 1 MSM1. These are the values from my table. Okay, these are the two variants. One way you can execute your stored procedure, the second way you can execute your queries. Okay, means to access your data, execute reader. Okay, so you guys understood these two concepts? Any doubts? Okay, I hope you guys are good. Okay, so from now onwards, the assignments is more and more. You guys has to work very hard. Okay, assignment is, so I have given you guys all the tables. Okay, this is my script. This project already checked in for your reference. Okay, to my solution, you just need to go to view on your Visual Studio 2015 servers, go to view, and from here other windows, from here go to source controller explorer. Okay, it will open the connections whichever you were given access. So the ID what I have given you guys is, okay, here only I will add students trainings at the rate outlook.com. Okay, this is outlook.com mail, and then password is open @ 123. This is the source code. Okay, if you can't access through your Visual Studio, just log on to visualstudio.com with whatever ID I have given you guys. Okay, so the assignment is we have to create CRUD operations for branch the same way, not you create. Okay, create CRUD operations for class already done, branch. What else is there? Examination. Okay, and then same create CRUD operations for student. Okay, for student leaves, student marks. So for these five tables, you need to create CRUD operations. So I have two stored procedures I have created here. You can take reference of these two stored procedures and you create same like this. One is manage classes I have. So your stored procedure name should be manage classes. Here my name is manage classes. Yours will be manage branches. Okay, and get branches. Okay, manage branches, comma, get branches. So same way you need to implement manage examinations, manage get examinations, manage students, get students, manage student leaves, get student leaves, manage student marks, get student marks. These are means for each table you should have two stored procedures, that is total 10 stored procedures you guys have to create. Okay, this is very important. So these stored procedures we are going to use for all our future uh, classes. So without this I cannot go forward in the classes. So please prepare all these stored procedures. Okay, this one. So this is student state runnings. Okay. So these are the true. Okay. Okay, here you can go to Sri Trainings, Visual Studio under accounts.